Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's a beautiful day to listen to what I have to say. And today I have a lot to say about this next book that I read. This is book number 5 on my TBR list. Actually, that kind of slayed. Welcome to another day where I have something to, wait, what? I don't even know how I said it. That was kind of good. Do I have an intro now? So when I started reading this, it was actually the start of February. I started February 1st, but this video will probably go up about halfway through February. So as you may know, February is Black History Month. So I thought it would be nice to read some books from the Black authors that I have in my collection. And that's not to say this is a PSA. Let's get this out of the way right now. February is not the only month that you should be reading books from Black authors, okay? We need to be recognizing, highlighting these authors outside of the month of February as well. So this is not the only month that I will be highlighting them. This is just where I will be starting, okay? Okay. Anyway, so this week we have The Black Queen, and this is by Jumata Emill. As I mentioned, he's a Black author, and this book, look at this cover. I know it's kind of glossy and hard to see. Oh, you can see my window and my camera. Bloop, 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 bloop. Anyway, so this is the front cover. Beautiful. I will also be tagging the artist below. I believe they have an Instagram account. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So for just a brief little synopsis, this book follows Nova Albright. She is supposed to be the first Black homecoming queen at their school, Levitt High. Nova Albright is only challenged by one other person for the crown, and that is Tinsley MacArthur, a girl who, in her family, they put a lot of pressure on making sure that people are crowned homecoming queen. So they have some tension leading up to the coronation of Nova, but fatefully on that very night, Nova is murdered and found dead the next morning. So the book follows Tinsley MacArthur, murder suspect number 1 in this investigation, along with Nova's very good friend, Duchess Simmons, as they try to uncover who killed Nova Albright. So that's the premise of the story, but what we're going to do today is we're going to solve this case. We're going to go through the evidence, go through the suspects, look at their testimonies, and see who killed Nova Albright. I'm also going to preface by saying I do have some criticisms for this book. It was not my favorite, but I didn't not like it. Yes, that's what I mean to say. So I will save my commentary a little bit further in the video because I have a delightful surprise, something I've been so excited to show. It took me all night to do. Let's take you over. We're gonna change background. You see this? You see this? We're gonna get a change of pace right now. Boop, transition. Bum 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 bum. I have made a murder board. I'm so excited. Hold on. I know. Take a moment. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I am pretty cool, actually. Welcome to the Mikefication of YouTube, specifically my YouTube channel. This is a Swiffer without the dust thingy, and this is actually a stand for the camera I'm using. So, not a microphone, not a pointer, but they will be for today's video. So here we have all the characters, all the suspects, and all the evidence. So let's get to it right now. I'm so excited. Oh my God. I'm going to be taking some periodic sips from this cup, but don't you worry. Crossed out the logo. I'm just going to be doing a lot of talking. This is a lot to get through right here. So the story opens up October 5th, 9:46 a.m. We have Tinsley MacArthur. Tinsley is our main character, one of our main characters rather. Her family is incredibly rich, incredibly influential, and she will be the 3rd generation that is supposed to be getting the homecoming crown, second to Rachel, her mother Charlotte, and then their grandmother, I believe so. So at this point in time, their school, Levitt High School, has implemented racial quotas following certain events in history, rather in today's world, because this does take place in today's world. They even make reference to the panini, which is like a personal ache, just because I'm like, I read books to escape and I don't want to think about that. But that's besides the point. So in these quotas, they decided that they're going to alternate who gets nominated for homecoming queen every year. One year it has to be a nominee from their standard curriculum. The next year it has to be an AP. Standard is usually where all the people of color, these children, that's their curriculum, although they specify that it's mostly Black kids. The AP curriculum is mostly the white kids. There is one Black kid, and that is Trenton. He comes up later. This year, the first year that they're implementing these quotas, it is the standard curriculum that is going to go first, and the only nominee they have is Nova Albright. Oh, I'm sorry, Donna. I didn't mean to hit you like that. My bad. She is the only candidate, so theoretically, she should be the one to win the crown. But Tinsley, on this morning, October 5th, has invited Nova to have a conversation before school starts. Nova brings along her best friend, Duchess Simmons, as well as Trenton. No, Trenton shows up later. Scratch that. Tinsley shows up with her posse, made up of Lana and Giselle. Giselle is pictured as Candace Owens because they make a joke that that's who she is, and I thought it was really funny. Very quickly, a crowd starts forming around them. Tinsley is trying to convince Nova to drop out of the race, so they will have no choice but to elect Tinsley if she's the only other person that wants a spot. Nova is not very quick to give up her crown. She's like, why should I give it up to you? I don't like you, and quite frankly, I don't care for the racism that is going on at the school. Why can't I be homecoming queen? Tinsley tries to give her an offer that she can't refuse. Nova is a very kind soul, and what she does every single weekend is she hosts cleanups at their local cemetery, which they specify is a slave cemetery frequently. In a way that makes me slightly uncomfortable, just because I've listened to the audiobook and hearing slave cemetery from yeah, anyway. Like I said, Tinsley is very rich. She's offering Nova a ton of money to not only help restore the cemetery, but get new headstones and essentially do everything that Nova wants to do. Nova finds the offer very, very enticing. So Nova declines her offer. Tinsley is extremely upset about it, and she's like, okay, you're gonna regret that decision. This conversation is witnessed between these two by a lot of the people on this list. It's important. So later on in classes, it is announced by the principal that Nova is the homecoming queen. Tinsley has dropped out of the race. Nova is going to be homecoming queen. So leading up to the coronation, there is tension between Tinsley and Nova. Tinsley goes home the same day that they announce that Nova is going to be homecoming queen. She goes home to her mother, Charlotte MacArthur, and her sister, Rachel MacArthur, pictured here. Ooh, got longer. Tinsley is telling her mother that Nova beat her out for homecoming queen. Also, I should mention this. Okay, hold on. The tension between Tinsley and Nova is not by any means private. When she is announced, they're in the same class. They're in an art class. Nova goes out of her way to go up to Tinsley, and she's like, Tinsley, aren't you going to congratulate me? I got nominated homecoming queen. And Tinsley says, good luck finding a dress. I don't think any places in town take Klarna payments. I gasped. I had to pause the audiobook. That was so out of pocket. So Tinsley goes home. She tells her mother all about it. They are specifically talking about someone who will sponsor Nova so that she can buy a homecoming dress, because it is very common in the town. For some reason, the homecoming queen is equivalent to like the mayor for an entire year. The homecoming queen will host events throughout the town. They can get political favors. It's weird. Like, it's a high school homecoming. That was really hard to wrap my head around, and kind of like it took me out of the story, because I'm like, I've been out of high school for like 4 years now. So this importance on homecoming is lost on me. While Tinsley is coming home that day, she sees her father, Virgil MacArthur, pictured here, having frozen yogurt with Nova. Tinsley confronts her father when he comes home, and she's like, why were you talking to Nova? And he says it's because Nova asked him to sponsor her to buy her a dress, right? Cool. Tinsley and Charlotte get very angry at Virgil because Charlotte is racist, and she doesn't think that Nova should have beat out Tinsley for homecoming queen. So she's very against her husband sponsoring Nova. They have a little mini argument about it, and it goes nowhere. Also mentioned in this chapter, there is a side plot line, which I have a problem with, but I'll get into it later. There's a side plot line in which they talk about Curtis Delmont, which is a man in a neighboring town. For example, if this is like Rosewood, then that's like Ravenswood, right? So Curtis Delmont is arrested, wrongfully so, as he is suspected of murdering 2 people in like Jackson or something. So that is happening alongside this storyline. Just remember that. Rachel and Tinsley are also kind of beefing. Rachel is this like reformed, she went to a liberal college, so she has all these ideas and whatnot. Rachel is trying to teach her mother and her entire family not to be racist. Tinsley makes fun of her because she says her husband is cheating on her. Again, Tinsley, incredibly out of pocket, but in a way that I think is kind of funny. Like, Rachel's like, oh yeah, I bet it stings you didn't get that homecoming queen crown, huh, right? And she's like, yeah, I bet it stings knowing that your husband doesn't want to sleep next to you at night. It's just a bit much. All right, so we are now jumping forward to October 12th. Tinsley is at cheerleading practice, which has just ended early. Tinsley goes to confront Nova as she sees her in the gym while everyone is setting up for the coronation. Tinsley is extremely angry. She's got a lot of anger that's just kind of building up, right? She's been trying to do like a smear campaign for Nova, spread any rumors that she can, but as far as she knows, there's no dirt on this girl. She is a golden girl. Nothing is wrong with her. That morning at school, one of Tinsley's minions, Lana, up here, Lana sees Nova talking to a mysterious older gentleman in front of the school, and it looks like they're arguing, but she makes it seem as if this older gentleman is in some way related to Nova in a romantic sense. Tinsley decides to use this as ammunition. She goes up to Nova and asks her about a potential sugar daddy situation because of the man that she supposedly saw talking to Nova. Nova gets very angry about the situation and says that that man is actually her uncle, pictured here as Leland Albright. We don't know his name yet, but that is his name. Tinsley specifically says that her and the other cheerleaders are worried about the status of Nova as their homecoming queen because she's supposed to be like the best of them. So if she has a sugar daddy, that doesn't look very good. Tinsley and Nova end up getting into an altercation, a fist fight, if you will. They get into an altercation and are quickly taken to the principal's office that same day. Now, Tinsley is quickly picked up by her mother, Charlotte, and Nova is picked up by Donna, her mother. Nova mentions to her mother that her uncle Leland was there at the school, and there is some kind of like tension that's going on here that Tinsley is picking up on, although she doesn't exactly know what it is that's happening. Charlotte quickly takes Tinsley from school, and for the foreseeable future, this is all that happens leading up to the coronation. Okay, I also forgot to mention, I have these little red flag stickers that I will be putting up to each corresponding character as they do weird shit that I don't like. So we jump forward to the night of the coronation. This is October 14th, Coronation Day. This is the day that we are on currently. At the coronation ball is Nova Albright as well as her mother. Briefly, she's not there the whole night. Then we have Duchess, we have Charlotte, Virgil, Rachel, Mr. Haywood, and Co. Oh, you know who is also there? Evelyn. Evelyn is Duchess's girlfriend. Be who you are for your pride. Duchess is getting very antsy about being there. Obviously, it's a lot of these kinds of faces. Duchess and Evelyn end up leaving early because they have another party that they are going to attend. Duchess is feeling a little like not okay about leaving Nova because Nova seems distressed. Nova gets a text on her phone that distracts her while they're trying to talk to her. Nova seems off after she gets this text message. She's not acting like her normal self. So Duchess tries to ask Nova, is everything all right? Nova is initially dismissive of Duchess, but then says that she will tell her everything, but she has to swear that she will never tell anyone what Nova is going to tell her. She agrees, and Duchess and Evelyn end up leaving for the night, but Duchess makes Trenton, our guy Trenton here, she makes him swear that he will make sure that Nova is okay and make sure that she gets home safely. And he says yes. Somewhere on the opposite side of town, simultaneously, we have Tinsley, her boyfriend Nathan, Lana, Giselle, and some other people that are not listed on here because they're not important enough to have a picture. They're all on the beach. Tinsley is getting drunk because she is very upset again that Nova is homecoming queen. So she is getting like blindly drunk. She is still in high school, in case you were wondering. So Tinsley is kind of acting a little snippy, a little snappy. Her and Nathan have been fighting because she is still angry at Nova. So she's just been kind of lashing out. So let's award our first red flag. Hold on. As I mentioned, I was listening to the audiobook, and the audiobook is voiced by two different people there's one for Duchess and then there's one for Tinsley, two different voice actors. Since this is Tinsley's point of view in this section, there is a part where one of Nathan's friends, I believe his name is Lucas, he is not pictured, Lucas sings the N-word. It's a whole other experience to hear an audiobook voice actor say it fully. The gasp that I gussed when I heard that, I get it. It was her job. It was literally, she had to read it as it was written. But you could not pay me $1 million to say that. There's no amount of money, nothing you could do to make me say that. I would have looked at that script and said, you know what, I'm good, thanks. But that's just me. That's just what I would do. Ooh. Anyway, so since Lucas isn't here, Nathan will get it by default. Nathan's friend Lucas says that word. Tinsley actually calls him out and says that that's not okay for her to say. Giselle, Miss Candace Owen here, that's not her name. I don't give a shit what her name is. Anyway, she's like, I'm not that upset about it. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because that is like the preface to what Tinsley says later. She is drunk and she is mad at Nova, as we have mentioned. I mean, to be compared to Candace Owens is already a red flag. While they're on the beach, Tinsley is getting progressively drunker. Tinsley goes on a rant about Nova, saying that she doesn't deserve to be homecoming queen, and specifically says something that implicates her like bad. Like, okay. I'm gonna read it. I have to read it. I have to read it. It's an important part of the story. I don't want to have these words come out of my mouth in any capacity, but so Tinsley says, and this is her words, not mine, quoted from page 58 of the book. Fuck Nova Albright. I should have killed her and dumped her in that slave cemetery she loves so much. Ooh, I'm gonna throw up. Okay. Understandably so, the group looks at her in utter horror about her words. Tinsley is extremely angry. She has just said that rant. She decides that she is going to leave the beach and go home. She is incredibly drunk, but she decides to get behind the wheel of a vehicle. Drunk driving is bad. Don't do it. She ends up getting into a fight with Nathan. She says for him to leave her alone, and that the only reason that she dates him is because her mother wants her to. Nathan ends up letting her go, and Tinsley ends up driving off into the night, incredibly drunk. Again, don't get behind the wheel if you're intoxicated. Now we find ourselves the morning of October 15th. This is a Saturday. We are in Duchess's point of view. Duchess wakes up. She has a million missed calls from her father, Captain Simmons. He's a captain on the police force. She is like, okay, what is happening? She turns on the TV. She's talking to her girlfriend, Evelyn, and they find out together that one Nova Albright has been found murdered in said slave cemetery that Tinsley mentioned previously in her rant. And not only that, they reported that Nova's body was found early in the morning, but then they also include a clip that has gone viral. They specify on TikTok. It's gone viral of one Tinsley MacArthur. Someone recorded her that night on the beach with her little rant that she went on, and it's incredibly implicating evidence. We find out later that the person that recorded Tinsley was actually Lana up here. So after this, we pop into Tinsley's point of view. Tinsley has just woken up. She's getting a million text messages, a lot of notifications on social media as people are calling her out for what she said in that viral video and accusing her of murdering Nova Albright, as we know. Tinsley immediately goes out when she hears her parents pulling up in the driveway, and she is freaking out. She's saying she didn't do it. She has very little to no recollection of what happened after she got in the car. Her parents are supposedly coming back because they went for breakfast at their country club. This is an important fact to remember. They were getting breakfast. So Tinsley, Charlotte, and Virgil MacArthur are visited by Captain Simmons shortly after they pull up into the driveway. Captain Simmons takes Tinsley for questioning at the police station. They ask her specifically about what she said in that video. Again, it's incredibly implicating, not only because it gives her a motive for wanting to kill Nova, but specifically implicates her on the location of where Nova was found. Tinsley is eventually let go from police custody because she is not formally under arrest and because, again, her family is incredibly powerful, incredibly influential. The police department does not want to arrest Tinsley nor hold her without incredibly damning evidence. They can't do so unless they can prove without a doubt that she is connected to Nova's death. And another thing that I don't like necessarily about this story is because, so Captain Simmons is specifically working on Nova's case. When the captain is questioning Tinsley in front of the chief, Fred Barrow, pictured here as the dude from Pretty Little Liars because he's a dick. Captain Simmons openly admits that he's incredibly close to the case because he knew Nova and, you know, he considered her like a daughter to him. I don't know too much about the police or any like investigations, but I would imagine that because this case is incredibly personal for him, at least this is what happens on SVU all the time. If the case is that personal to him, why would he still be working on it? Because you would imagine that that might lead someone to have like a confirmation bias. They obviously want to implicate Tinsley because of the video, and they're like really hell-bent that it's her. They're not looking at any other possibility that it's anyone else here. I would imagine that that would be like, not like a great thing to have him on the case. On top of the fact that when Captain Simmons comes home to Duchess, he tells her everything that they have done on the case so far. He tells his daughter, the best friend of the victim, all the evidence they have found so far. Like, doctors have HIPAA. Do police officers have like a HIPAA? Because if they do, I feel like that breaks the HIPAA law. Captain Simmons and Duchess end up getting into a fight because she is angry that they have not arrested Tinsley yet. Duchess gets very angry and they have a fight. They don't talk to each other anymore. Duchess is trying to get evidence about what happened to Nova that night. She decides that she's going to Nancy Drew it and figure out what happened. Duchess reaches out to Trenton. Trenton is incredibly smart. He's like a tech dude, computer, hack into the mainframe kind of dude. Duchess asks Trenton to hack into the school security system to look at the footage from that night since he has experience doing so. But he tells her that they put up a new firewall or whatever, and for some reason, he can't try and hack into it again without getting caught. So Tinsley is in the depths of despair right now. In the court of public opinion, she's guilty. A lot of people don't like her right now, and they don't like the fact that she's not being arrested. So she decides that she is also going to Nancy Drew it. First step in this plan for her is to get the one person that can sway public opinion if they believe she is innocent, which is Donna Albright. Okay, as of right now, Tinsley is the one and only suspect in this case. Tinsley is very adamant that she is not the killer, and we, as the reader, are forced to believe it because, again, one of the POVs in this story is her. And of course, there's like a gap in which we don't get her narration, but you would imagine, and I was even holding out the hope that it would have actually been her, because I was waiting for that twist of like, oh my God, they let us on. The killer was narrating the story the whole time and we had no idea. But no, just to like, in case you were hoping, that doesn't come. Tinsley decides that she's going to visit Donna Albright because if Donna believes that she is innocent, she can sway public opinion and force the police to look into other people. Right? Right. Tinsley goes to Donna's house. Donna lets Tinsley inside and they have like a weird conversation, kind of, not really. Donna asks her if she ran into another person that was leaving as Tinsley was there. And Tinsley's like, no, that is important to remember for later on. A lot of this stuff is important to remember. Anyway, Tinsley is talking to Donna very briefly. She realizes very quickly that she's not going to get anywhere with Donna. Donna doesn't really care in that sense. She decides she needs to look in Nova's room. So Tinsley asks Donna to go to the bathroom. She goes, but while Mrs. Albright is busy and preoccupied, Tinsley, kind of like Nancy Drew, like switcheroo, sneaks into Nova's room. She starts looking around thinking that if she can find like some kind of like secret diary or something, she can figure out if maybe there was somebody else that wanted Nova dead. Tinsley ends up looking into like this vent shaft where she finds a box of love notes. She also finds a brochure for an abortion clinic. Tinsley thus makes the connection that Nova must have been pregnant and looking for an abortion before she died. Meanwhile, while Tinsley is in Nova's room, she hears someone at the front door arguing with Donna Albright, and she finds out later that it is Leland Albright, the uncle to Nova. These two are having an argument. Donna ends up slamming the door in his face. Tinsley takes that opportunity to run out of Nova's room and she's like, I think it's time to go. And Donna is like, yeah, I think it is. So Tinsley leaves. Tinsley now has a hard piece of evidence. She has a reason to believe that maybe something must have happened in which Nova was pregnant, wanted an abortion, and perhaps the person that got her pregnant did not want her to do so. Tinsley goes to school and specifically goes up to Duchess to ask her if Nova was seeing anybody and try and figure out who might have gotten her pregnant. Now, the thing about Duchess, and another thing that is like a critique for later. So that morning before school, we are in Duchess's point of view. Duchess also finds out that Nova was pregnant when she died. When Duchess sees this, she sees this on a coroner's report that Nova was pregnant when she died. She says, no, that can't be true. I knew Nova. She would never have a boyfriend behind my back. Anytime any evidence is presented to Duchess that contradicts her idea of Nova, she immediately dismisses it and says, no, this can't possibly be true because I know Nova, when it's obvious and evident that she does not. That makes me a little annoyed because it stops a lot of progress in the investigation because Duchess just can't comprehend that someone she only knows for a year might be different than who she expects. Which is another thing. Duchess is like borderline in love with Nova. She frequently calls her my queen. She's my Nova. Like very like she's mine type of beat, right? But they've only known each other for a year. Like, I understand it's still like really traumatic to lose a friend like that, but I think I would have like really liked if they were like childhood friends or something. Like just like a more deep relationship. I don't know. Sorry, Trenton. I just think like their relationship could have been deepened a lot more for me to like feel her grief and understand why she's acting in the way that she does. But right now, like, it's a little annoying, honestly. Sorry. Anyway, so the next day, Duchess now knows that Nova was pregnant. Tinsley thinks that Nova already had the abortion. Tinsley goes up to Duchess the next day to ask her who might have gotten her pregnant. Duchess says that she did not have a boyfriend, although she says that they were not booed up with anyone. So Duchess immediately kind of pushes Tinsley away as she's trying to question her. Tinsley is like, okay, you look like you're gonna beat the fuck out of me, so let me actually go away. Tinsley goes home that day from school. She gets an email sent to her school email, a threat. Right? I can't remember what it says, but it's very threatening. She's going up the driveway and runs into Duchess. Duchess asks her why she was asking about Nova's relationship status, and Tinsley tells her it's because she had an abortion. Duchess says, A, how do you know that? And B, no, she didn't, because she was pregnant when she was found. So they decide, because now there's like some kind of doubt. Now Duchess doesn't necessarily think that Tinsley is 100% guilty because she has this information. And specifically, she says that she doesn't think Tinsley is guilty because guilty people normally try to like avoid the investigation. They wouldn't like get in it and like risk incriminating themselves for whatever reason. But the fact that Tinsley is trying to find evidence means that she's probably innocent. So it is at this point in the story that Tinsley and Duchess decide that they're going to team up to try and figure out who the killer is. Forgot to mention this earlier. So while Tinsley is at Donna Albright's house, she actually finds out, Donna tells her, that the person that sponsored Nova was actually Virgil. He actually went against Charlotte and Tinsley's wishes and decided to sponsor Nova anyway. So that day when Tinsley gets home from school after she interacts with Duchess, she goes inside to question her father about why he decided to sponsor Nova. Virgil says that he did it to get ahead of some bad business decisions that he made, and that he requested that Nova not tell anybody until later on in the year, I guess. I don't know. Tinsley, when she goes up to meet her father to ask him, he is passed out drunk, and she notices that he is holding an NDA in his hands. But before she can read the names that are on this NDA, he wakes up and stuffs it away. Tinsley leaves her father's office. She goes downstairs. As she goes downstairs, Chief Barrow as well as Captain Simmons are in Tinsley's house with a search warrant for her bedroom. They are looking for something because earlier in that school day, they were actually at the school looking at Nova's locker and they found something. Although it is not clear what exactly it was that they found, but whatever it was, that gave them enough evidence to get a search warrant for Tinsley's room. So Tinsley is talking to her mother because it seems as though she's picking up on like, Tinsley has like a weird suspicion that Chief Fred Barrow has something against her, and that's why he's trying so hard to pin Nova's murder on him. So she's asking her mother, like, because they seem like they have something going on based on their interactions with each other. And that is when Tinsley's mother, Charlotte, tells her about this like side story. So when Charlotte was a kid, so Charlotte was not always a rich debutante. She actually used to come from a trailer park and she was friends with Chief Fred Barrow's sister, Regina Barrow. So Regina was actually dating one Virgil MacArthur and was supposed to be the person that he ended up with, but that was not how it happened. Regina was actually friends with Charlotte, and one night they go to a party with the bad kids, and that's all the other trailer kids that Charlotte knows. They go to this party. Charlotte and her get into a fight because Charlotte wants to leave and she doesn't. Regina wants to be like a bad girl. She's on like a bad girl streak, and Charlotte's like, no, we have to get out of here. Whatever, they get into a fight and Regina calls her like essentially like a trailer trash. Charlotte is very upset, so she ends up leaving Regina there at this party now that Regina is alone and Charlotte is not there to like protect her, if you will. So up to this part, we were okay in the story, but going forward, I'm going to start by giving a trigger warning. We're going to go into some very heavy topics, including SA and things of that nature. So if you're sensitive, please skip. I'll include like a safe time to come back. And also, if you're sensitive to these topics, I wouldn't recommend reading the book. And I will get into that in my analysis. So you'll see. But anyway, okay, 3, 2, 1. So Chief Fred Barrow, his sister Regina, is now at this party alone because Charlotte left her. So while she's at this party, Regina is assaulted by multiple different men,
and actually falls pregnant from this encounter. Regina relies very heavily on Charlotte because once people find out, people including Virgil MacArthur, he calls her a slut and leaves her. Oh. Virgil breaks up with Regina. Regina is really relying on Charlotte to help her out. And what does Charlotte do? Not help her. Charlotte leaves her to deal with her own business. So as a result of being isolated from all of her friends, Regina ends up taking her own life. Her younger brother, that is the now Chief Fred Barrow, ends up blaming Charlotte for the incident. If Charlotte had been a better friend and if she stayed with Regina that night, then what happened wouldn't have happened. So Fred essentially blames Charlotte, and that's why Tinsley thinks that he might have some kind of vendetta, and he doesn't want to let another MacArthur get away for crimes against humanity. I guess I was a little early. Duchess doesn't end up teaming up with Tinsley until like after this chapter with like the police searching her house, but okay, whatever. Anyway, so when Tinsley was at Donna's house, she didn't actually see who was at the door. She only heard Leland, right? So she doesn't know that Leland is the same dude that was seen with Nova that day before they had the fight. Tinsley thinks that the person that might have gotten Nova pregnant was the same dude that she was fighting with and that Lana saw that morning before their fight. Duchess says no, that's not possible because that person is Leland Albright, the person that also came to Donna's house. Skip this part. Very sensitive. I can't count. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So Leland Albright actually abused Nova when she was a kid, when she used to live in Virginia with him. And when Nova went to tell her mother did not believe her. Let's get another red flag on the board. You really hate to see it. Eventually, Leland actually got sent to prison because Nova told her school counselors he was sent to prison, and they ended up moving away. And the only reason they actually came back to that town was because Donna's mother, Nova's grandmother, passed away and left them the house. So they actually have a theory that Leland might have had access to Nova and might have had a motive for doing so, again, because he went to prison because of her and they had a fight that very same morning. So armed with this evidence, they decide that they are going to go to the police with this new information. So we're now on October 19th, 7:05 a.m., Tinsley's point of view. They go to the police station, they talk to Chief Barrow and Captain Simmons about their theory, and they are incredibly dismissive of them because they already knew about Leland, his past, and the fact that he was in town. They have an alibi for Leland, and they actually tell them. But again, like, I understand it's for like the narrative purposes so that they know, but like I feel like if this was a real police investigation, they should not have access to that information. I would imagine that they would want to keep some of that stuff like under wraps. So Leland's alibi, which was confirmed, is that he was working the late shift to 10 p.m., but it is also revealed Nova was killed between 9:30 p.m. and 12 a.m., aka midnight. Leland works at a local restaurant. Where is this motherfucker? Here, he works at a local restaurant, but that said restaurant closes at 10. He also has an alibi for the rest of the night as he was at a bar selling illegally acquired substances. Multiple people are able to confirm where Leland was and that he was nowhere near the school and nowhere near Nova that night. So he is cleared for this murder. So they also talk about in this little discussion they have at the police station that they were looking for something specific in Nova's locker. Tinsley deducts that what they're looking for is Nova's diamond pendant. She had a fake diamond flower pendant that she wore all the time, no matter what. She wore it like with everything. She never took that thing off. It was not found with her when she died. Also missing was her scepter and her phone. Also weird, and also what took me out of the story, oops, I didn't mean to hit that. Chief Fred Barrow, who is in the room as they're having this conversation, gets mad at Captain Simmons for following the lead with Leland and tracking his whereabouts, and specifically says, like, I don't want to know about his whereabouts, I want to know about her whereabouts. I didn't give you authorization to follow that lead, which is a stupid fucking sentence to say, I didn't give you authorization to follow a lead in a murder investigation. I honestly thought I printed too many red flags, but I don't think it's enough. Again, he is trying really hard to make sure that Tinsley goes down for this. If she's guilty, she's guilty, but as we know, she's not. He needs to explore other avenues. He can't just be hell-bent on doing this. So Chief Fred Barrow ends up saying okay, get lost, you need to go to school. As he is leaving, Tinsley gets a glimpse of their murder board outside the office. She cannot see what's on it, but she sees something hanging smack in the middle, and she's like, that looks important. Tinsley concocts this little plan, right? So her, Duchess, and Captain Simmons are leaving his office. She forgets her backpack there, and she's like, oh my god, I have to go back and get it, I need that for school. And while she's getting her backpack, she takes a very quick picture of the murder board. So in the next chapter, she gets called by the principal. The principal asks Duchess to give a speech about Nova at the football game. That is supposed to be the pep rally, whatever, blah, 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 high school terms. Duchess agrees, and then while she is thinking about what happened at the police station, she's like, wait, they're looking for Nova's phone. I know how to find Nova's phone. She only remembers this now. The only real evidence she finds, and it takes her halfway through the book to find it. But anyway, Duchess meets up with Tinsley. She remembers that Nova was actually incredibly forgetful with her phone, and specifically that Nova had previously used Duchess's laptop to use Find My iPhone to find her iPhone. They use the app to try and figure out where Nova's phone is because they believe that they can at least find where she was originally murdered, if not find the killer. Because what they deduced was that she wasn't actually killed in the cemetery. She was moved there post-mortem. So they locate the phone on the Find My iPhone app, and they, lo and behold, it is on the campus. When they go zoom in, they specifically locate that it's in a storeroom behind the gym. So they break into this storage room and they're hearing sound. Also, what a nice little inclusion in the audiobook is they actually put sound effects, which I don't think I've ever really heard in audiobooks, but that was kind of cool. Anyway, so while they're in this storage room, they hear noises, like thumps. It's very dark and they're just trying to make their way through, but very quickly they figure out that they are not alone in this storage room. The other people that are in here are Lana and Giselle. Lana ends up trying to be the new Tinsley. She's trying to be the new Regina George, if you will. Tinsley ends up confronting Lana and Giselle in this storeroom, and she's like, when I get my name cleared, I'm gonna come for you bitches, because you thought that this would tarnish my reputation. You thought this was over for me. You're wrong, and you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna regret. But you would imagine that throwing out threats like that might have been what caused her to get caught in this little investigation in the first place. Would she learn? No, course not. So Lana and her end up getting into the girls are fighting. They end up getting into a little cat fight, if you will. Lana pushes Tinsley hard as hell into this little shelf unit. Tinsley tries to get up to run after her, but they end up leaving. Let me put up a red flag for Lana. Tinsley is now on the ground. She's just been thrown into a shelf. Duchess is laughing at her. That's not really important. I just wanted to throw that in there. So Tinsley, as she's trying to get up, she notices that she has something on her, something that might have spilled that was on this rack. She has a very slick brown liquid on her, and it smells very irony, oxidized. What is it? Blood. So they find out that this storeroom was where Nova was originally murdered. It looks like someone tried to clean it up, but they couldn't reach specifically under the shelf. So not only do they find residual blood, they also find Nova's phone. They do not report this to the police. Instead, they go back to Tinsley's house. She changes out of her clothes, takes a shower, and they are charging Nova's phone so they can find out who she was texting and who that text message that really freaked her out on the night of the coronation. While Tinsley is in the shower, Duchess is in her room. Charlotte ends up coming into Tinsley's room to talk to Duchess. They go downstairs and she kind of asks oh, what are your intentions? What are you doing here? Most people wouldn't want to be seen with a murder suspect, and Duchess is oh, it's just for a school project. It's important to know that they also have a history. Tinsley and Duchess used to be friends when they were kids. I think they said 8 years old, because Duchess's mother used to work at the country club they belonged to. Duchess actually kissed Tinsley as a kid, and Tinsley told her mother about it, and her mother got Duchess's mother fired. So Duchess has really held that against her for a really long time. So Tinsley ends up rescuing Duchess from this little conversation that she's having with her mother. So Tinsley and Duchess go back to her room. They turn on Nova's phone and they scroll back to messages from someone titled Bay in her contacts. See, and now Duchess, I feel like Duchess was supposed to be our main detective, but she's not very good at it, despite her father being a detective, because Duchess sees this Bay contact in Nova's phone and decides that she's going to call it from Nova's phone. And Tinsley has to remind her that Nova is dead. And getting a call from someone you know is dead might really throw you off. So Tinsley grabs her phone, does some like star 67. I hope she does. I don't know if she actually does. So they call the number. And who picks up?